Now I'm going to go through some tips on how to make a PowerPoint presentation. And this is something that you can use when you present your group project in the final presentation if you want to aim for the 2 additional bonus points that are valid for getting a 4 or a 5 on the exam. And I will start by going through the structure, and then I will go through some graphical tips. Here you can see the structure of a PowerPoint presentation. It should be structured in a way that conveys the actual message in a few slides with leave more details to the appendix. So you can see that you start with the executive summary, then you have some kind of introduction, then you have your main message, then you have arguments 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and so on, and then you have some kind of outro. And in detail, this looks like that. Here, this. You start with the executive summary, which is 1 slide. Then you have the introduction. You have a background slide, a pep slide, or a scope slide. And if this is a project that you're presenting, you leave some things to the appendix that you don't include. I'm not saying that you need project organization and time plan in this setting, but that would be examples of things that are put in appendix. Then you have the solution, which is 1 page, main message, something that you want to make sure that everyone understands, that grabs their attention. In this case, it can be what you want to do, what pain you want to address by what you propose to the business angel. Then you have arguments for that, and you sort them in some kind of order. You have the argument, and then you have the supporting slides for the argument. And you don't include all of these slides, perhaps. Some of them you put in the appendix. And then finally you have the outro. You have the next steps, what you want to do next, and the summary of what you've said. And you need to decide when you have these slides where to draw this line, how much will you have in the actual presentation, and that depends on how much time you have to present. Here is another way to look at it. The communication should answer the project's main questions using a pyramid structure. So basically what we had on the other slide is a pyramid structure. You have the introduction first, then you have the main message, then you have the key arguments, as we talked about before, and then you have some supporting arguments and facts. And one example is like you have the main message, what you want to do, what pain you remove. And then you have the key arguments, like you have the market argument, you have the marketing argument, the model of how you will make money, the protection, and the deal. That would be key arguments. And then you will have supporting arguments and facts in other slides. And some of those slides would be put into the appendix. And you will be able to use the appendix when you get specific questions. So the main message would be what the business angels would like to hear first, so that they understand what the presentation will be about, and it also grabs their attention so they get interested in what's going on. And when you structure your presentation, you should make sure that it's telling a story, that there is a red thread, that it's easy to follow where you're going. So one way of doing that is to write down everything that you want to get said on post-its or slices of paper, and then you rearrange that and make sure that, okay, how is this structured? Does it follow a story? Does it follow a narrative? Will this be interesting to listen to? And one other thing that you can use, that consultants use, is that you structure your headlines in a way that if you read just the headlines and go through the entire report reading just the headlines, that will give you a summary of what the entire presentation says. So basically the headline is a summary of what's in the slide. And usual pitfalls is to present all the things that took you a lot of time and effort to put together in slides because you're so proud of it and you want to show it off, but it might not be relevant for the presentation. However, it's very important that you put that in the appendix so that if you get a question, you can show the rigor of what you actually, what the conclusions actually came from. You can see that this presentation uses this method of having the summary of the slide in the headline. So here you can see when you start creating a slide, try to illustrate what you want to say with the slide and guide the reader to it. So first you start with a message. What would I like to say with this slide? What is the message? And then you put that in the headline. Look at illustrations. Is it possible to use graphs, bullet points, or anything that will make this message stronger? For example, if it is a plan with 4 phases, then you can use horizontal arrows. If you compare 2 things, then you can use 2 equally big boxes next to each other. And if you illustrate that 2 things lead to another, you can use arrows or boxes that end up in a box or something like that. And when it comes to graphical tips for PowerPoint, you can steal with pride. If you see that someone else has used a concept or way of illustrating things that actually works, you can take that and use it to illustrate what you want to say. And it's important that you guide the reader. After you created a slide, let it rest for a while and then go back and return to it. Then you see, is this easy to understand? Will I understand it if I hadn't been part of making it? Use dark colors, bold fonts, callouts, etc. to guide the reader to the most important parts of the slide. Ask yourself, where do I want the reader or the listener to focus their attention? And this slide has a lot of text in it, so that would probably not be what I recommend for the group presentation this time, because the audience are the business angels, and as you heard in the finance lecture, you don't give the business angel the presentation afterwards, you give them the business plan. So this is not something that will be circulated around as a report. That could be the case for some PowerPoints, but not this time. So since there will be another report, you can diminish the amount of text in the slides. But still, the important information needs to be there. Okay? And now we go on to the graphical structure, which is probably the most important part here. And this is a presentation where you would want to seem very professional, but you don't want to be dull either. So you need to make your audience excited about your product or service or whatever it is. But a few tips of things that you should avoid is this: clown colors, that I call them. I mean, don't use lots and lots of colors, it looks unprofessional. Use shades of the same color. Use some kind of theme in your presentation. But don't be afraid of using graphical aid. Don't just use bullet points, that's kind of boring. So here's like a before and after picture that you can see. And now you can change the slide to be slightly more professional, but still not too dull. And never use clip art. Use simpler pictures, like something that are from PowerPoint itself, or boxes and circles, lines and arrows, something like that. Or if you've designed your own picture of how something works, use kind of somber colors for that, don't clown colors. And yeah, you've seen examples in the business plan lecture. He showed some kind of nice illustrations of what some products did, and as you perhaps you didn't notice it, but they used kind of a joint color scheme in those pictures. So that's what you should use as well. And you can use lines and boxes to avoid a messy look. Here you can see before and after slides. Just boxing in the text can actually help you out and help the listener to understand what it is that you're going to talk about. And you can use call-outs to comment on the most important facts. Like here you can see where the critical activity is, because I used a call-out to highlight where you should focus your attention. And align as much as possible to avoid a messy look. Make the boxes equally big. Make it, I mean, there's inbuilt tools for this in PowerPoint at least, and I'm sure it is in Keynote as well. I don't know, but in the tools that you use, there probably are inbuilt alignment tools that you can use. And you can also circle something in order to make people notice it, and make that circle kind of distinguishable. So here you can see the before and after again. A thin line around this feasibility study. It's not that visible, but then if you make it bolder, a thicker line, and make it around the entire box, then you can see it. Just some simple tools that you can use. So basically, use a good structure, have a narrative, a red thread, make sure that people can follow what you're doing. Use the appendix for detailed information. Go there when people ask questions. And the second point, use some kind of graphical coherence throughout your presentation. Align the boxes, make it look professional. Okay, good luck. Bye.